Hey, come on. Come on. Hey. What? Here we go, here we go, here we go now. Hey. Let's chit chat, this is the show now. Come on. Bad black mama's gonna let you know now. Hey. Here we go, here we go, here we go now. Come on. Let's chit chat, let's chit chat, hey. Let's chit chat, sis. Hey, what's up? Let's chit chat, let's chit chat, let's chit chat, sis. Hey.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna, as we usually do, we're gonna talk about a hot topic, and I'm gonna say this as I always say, we're never here to offend, and we just want to talk about this topic because there's going to be a ruling coming soon on Roe v. Wade, and I know everybody, and I'll say this, CG and Jay. Thank you for joining this topic because I know it's probably a little sensitive for you guys to talking from the male perspective because you can't talk from the female perspective. So, be honest and express your feelings, but we all will definitely stay in the boundaries of, not to offend anybody, because
But we're gonna try.
We're gonna try. We're gonna try.
Somebody gonna be
Somebody gonna be offended.
Somebody gonna be
Somebody
offended.
gonna be offended. Somebody will definitely be offended. So,
Can
but
we all just get along?
we know that that's probably went back in 1995. Jay. Now nobody gets along. It's just
Right.
it is what it is. Just
Because we're too free. We're too free now.
no, don't use that word lightly because freedom is always a price with that. So, welcome everybody. We back on the porch. I'm your girl Kimmy, and joining me tonight is JB, Mel, CG, and Chauncey. So, as you know, this one is kind of touchy. It's not touchy to me because I always say I like to keep church and state separated. Because people I think are not doing that now, and I think that this is just my opinion. Just to open this up, we know a ruling is coming down, and the scab has been peeled off. And I say this because if you've never birthed a child, I think it can get a little sensitive because I think of different perspective for women in general. But at the end of the day, I think that I'm never going to judge anybody, woman or man, but especially not a woman, because I don't know what your situation is, and I don't know what your situation is going to be. And I think that this is my opinion that it's an opportunity for people to change the narrative, to speak about things about being the pro-life, but it's a whole bunch of little lives sitting here now, and nobody ain't doing shit for them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Let's birth you, and then after that, we don't really care what happens to you. You know what I mean? Because I think that's a lot of the narrative. I think so. I think choice to me means being able to talk about what is important for your life. I'm not God, and I'm not going to judge anybody. So when we all meet our maker, he can make the decision if you got rid of a baby and that was your choice to do so. So my point is, I think every woman should have total control of their body.
Absolutely. I agree.
Your body is your temple, and way you use it is it's going to be your conversation with God, not your conversation with some old white man in Congress or whatever, or sitting in the Supreme Court, or somebody who got a penis and some balls. I don't know, but it's just me saying that. So saying that, who want to go first?
I'll go first.
Uh-oh.
You know what? I've had an abortion before, and I honestly feel like it was the best decision I ever made because I made a bad decision one time, but I don't think you should be subjected to once you make the bad decision, you should be subjected to having to live with it for your life. And I had an abortion, and I was like, because he ain't the one. And there was no morning after pill at that point,
Right.
and or Plan B. And the bottom line was, I was just like, no, this is not gonna work. I definitely can't have a kid with him. And I should have thought about that beforehand. I should have. But what happens when you don't? You know, what happens when you
You
don't?
have a beautiful child. Is that possible
Party,
option?
got a little tipsy, and I'm about to fuck somebody.
Mhm.
And then in the next day, you're just like, oh shit, this ain't right. You don't want to live with that, you know? And it's not about the kid. It's really not. It's really about the two human beings that we're dealing with. And so unfortunately, I wasn't able to carry through. I just wasn't able to carry through. I was like, ooh, I done got knocked up by a nigga I don't even like.
I hear that a lot, but
Yeah, I
you
didn't
know,
like him.
I
Mm.
hear that a lot.
When I say nigga, what platform?
Black man,
And I say, shit, a brother I did not like.
a brother you
I
didn't
I
like.
was not happy with what we were doing. I wasn't happy with the state of our relationship. And I just felt like I made the choice. It was my choice. And thank God I was able to make that choice. Now for my daughter, she's not able to make that choice. My youngest son dealing with any woman, they're not able to make those choices if they reverse Roe v. Wade. They're not able to make those choices. It's like an old white man with no balls. He ain't got no balls, we know he ain't got no balls. But they're not gonna be able to make these choices. It's just gonna be a situation. But that's my 30 seconds.
That's cool. I mean, I think that probably in our time frame, Mel, we we had the accommodation to say that this doesn't fit, in my lifestyle, because I think that what I'm hearing right now is that we're not thinking about the long game. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're not thinking about the long game. I mean, there's so many kids.
Who you raising a child with? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's not just the child, it's just you stuck with that person too. You see what I'm saying? Because that doesn't go away. That doesn't go away. Hopefully you can be civil with each other, but that's a lifetime with that person. And if you if you're honest with yourself, just like you said, man, if you're honest, it's not gonna work, you know, it's not gonna work. I mean, it's not gonna work. So who's next?
Now, CG and JB, I need y'all to
Yeah.
like be right, because actually it's a tough subject, right?
It is a tough subject, and because when you come from that perspective of saying, this person isn't the right person for me, like I feel like men are really trapped in that and within that, it's like the choice goes very far for women, whereas our choice is very limited. Because you can say like, this isn't the right person for me, and there's a lot of empathy given to you for that. But when a man's like, this isn't the right person for me, this isn't the right situation for me, then you're automatically vilified. But I will say this much, as far as like my stance
Good
on,
point.
Very
on
good.
abortion and whatnot, Roe versus Wade, I mean, it's going to be down to the state level. I don't think that abortion will be gone completely in this country. I think it's still going to be there. I do think we as men need to kind of take a step back. I'm gonna just keep it real. I think it's weird when men are like sitting here crying over a woman getting ready to have abortion. I think you need to shut up and let her go do it. Because here's the thing: when a woman is coerced into having a kid with you and she doesn't want it, she's either gonna resent you for it, or she may not treat the kid right, or she's gonna put you through hell for the rest of your life. And here's the thing, man. Why would you want to go and have a family with somebody who doesn't want to have it with you? Like, there are women out here who will want to have a family with you, and you will have a very successful and happy home. Why are you going to sit here and argue with this girl? Go let her do it so that you can go find somebody that will have that family with you, that is excited to do it with you, and that will want to, build with you, versus putting somebody's back against the wall and then you don't know what's going to happen later. So that's where I stand on it. It's not really like I'm for it or against it. It's just like, you need to really think about this as a man when you're saying, hey, I'm against abortion, and because I don't want a woman to abort my baby. Like, you don't even know if that kid's yours. You don't
Uh-oh.
know the reason why she's having an
It's a
abortion.
whole other subject.
Like,
Mama's baby, papa's maybe.
these are conversations.
Exactly.
These are conversations that women have, you know, that aren't in front of us. Like when a girl's like, "Hey, I'm pregnant," her homegirl's like, "Who's the daddy?"
Because your homegirl knew what she been doing. That's why
Exactly.
Right, yeah, yeah.
So
What
I
you
mean,
gotta
that's
say, Chauncey?
For me, my choice is always life. It wasn't always the case. I had a situation when I was pregnant with my daughter, and they found cancer in the fallopian tube. I was told that my pregnancy would probably not make it to term. And so I had a 4-year-old that I was raising, and I was very sick, and I didn't know what that looked like. And that cancer could not be treated, even though it was cells at the time, it could not be treated until that pregnancy was over. So do I take a chance with carrying this baby to term and these cells possibly turning into a tumor? Or do I terminate the pregnancy to address the cancer cells? I have a child that's here and that's living. I've always been a person of faith. And so when the time came and how sick I was and what I was going through, I decided that, I need to term this pregnancy. When I got to the doctor's office, I couldn't go through with it. I changed my mind. Sitting there in that doctor's office, there were 3 young ladies that were in there. I was 26 at the time, but there were 3 girls that were in there that could not have been older than 12 or 13. And so seeing them just really kind of hit home for me. And so I left. And so another week went by, I made another appointment and I came back and I'm like, okay, I have to do this. I'm too sick. I don't know what's going to happen. No one really knew. I'm like, so this is my opportunity to do this. This is best for me and my child that is here. And so go back to the doctor's office. 2 of the 3 girls were back at the office again with a different girl. So I don't know who's there to do what. And even though it's a regular OBGYN office as well, this was an office that terminated pregnancies. And so that just made me sick to my stomach. The fact that I was looking at it and how I perceived it, I was wrong for judging, but I still perceived it as they were using this as a form of birth control. So my issue with the whole Roe v. Wade is that let's just take abortion off the table. It's women's rights that are an issue here, because the access to Planned Parenthood, the access to birth control, so that you don't have to get to the point where you need to terminate your pregnancy. And if that has to be a choice for a woman, then it's in a dire situation because she has the Plan B, she has birth control available, she has all these things available. But what happens when you take all that away? Like you all just said earlier, we have kids that are here and nobody's caring about them. Nobody's doing anything.
There's no education. There's no education
So
for these children.
if we don't put the education in place and we don't put the proper things in place for them so that this does not happen and they don't have to feel ashamed because they want birth control, or because you work for a Catholic university, they're not going to provide you with birth control, even though, government is supposed to be able to pay for it. Your prescription plan should pay for it. They're not going to pay for birth control. Like, where are we? And so there are so many mixed emotions in all of this. And I've heard men say, married men mostly, not just Joe Schmo on the street, but a married man saying that I should have a say. Well, the final decision still lays with that woman, but I can understand you as a couple, as a married couple, making that decision together. I do
I
see
think that's just respect. That's respect. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
y'all should be making that decision together. But I don't want to miss Chauncey's point. But I do want to jump in and say something too. I think where a big part that's being missed at the end of the day even if we're the most religious person or even if we are atheists. At the end of the day, guess what? It should be a woman's choice to say, if I'm going to carry this child, and you know what? And no one should be able to hinder that person's decision. We're not going to always agree to the reasoning why you want to terminate a pregnancy. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if you don't want that child, you know, or that embryo or whatever you want to classify it as, where do we draw the line and say, this shouldn't be something we should be having a discussion about? This is something that we should just really take into consideration, that
Uh,
you don't have to let the last say when it comes to my body. Go ahead, Jay.
No, I was just gonna say it just blows my mind that actually, here's this United States government, to actually try to, and particularly men, right? We should have nothing, absolutely nothing to say about the choices a woman makes with her body and what she decides to do with her pregnancy. We zero to do with that, point blank, period. But it's interesting though hearing the different perspectives, listening to Chauncey talk about from a medical perspective, then relationships, and like CG was saying, when you really see it's very evident, it's no relationship, it's nothing here. Like we're not gonna be together. There is no fairy tale. There is no big white a house with picket fence, none of that. Okay. So you're only going to then create resentment, bitterness, anger, all of these kind of energies, what you're going to be raising your child with
But they're gonna feel.
now someone that, from a man's perspective, I've already said to you, I didn't want the relationship. So that's just an interesting perspective that's very real. And then I also have my unique perspective of, unfortunately, and I still bothers me that I know 3 ladies in my lifetime that did, made the choice to terminate the pregnancy. And because we were not in a relationship. And, sometimes it bothers me because I still see one of them from time to time, every now and then. And I think about that. And in particularly the day before when I was giving her the money because this is what she was choosing to do. But then that day when I got there, she was heartbroken about it. And I still
That's
remember
not
that
easy.
vividly.
Not easy.
She was heartbroken about it. And it is like, yo, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm standing there with her and her family, and she's like bawling. And she had never reacted emotionally like that about it. So, I understand, that decision, is your decision. And that's what I was saying to her as well. And
I
a
think it's
man, a man
difficult.
should not be able to try to, the government. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That just really
But
just
I,
sickens
I
me to
think
my
it's a
stomach
bigger
that we
picture
have
going
that.
on here,
You
because
know,
I think
you
it's
just can't
more
take away a woman's right to choose.
of and I'm just gonna keep it honest with you. And y'all can just not agree with me. I think it's a bigger picture than this. I think that is because the people that, if you look at the birth rate of who birth rate has declined, is white women. You know what I mean? White women birth rate has declined. Okay, so you want them to have more babies? Do something else, because guess what? You shouldn't put us all in the same bucket together, because I don't think that the Congress give a hell a flying red ass. If I had 25 babies, guess what? You better figure out 25 damn ways to take care of them kids. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get no extra support or whatever. But if I made 25 babies and Ramel made 25 babies and Chauncey made 25 babies, yo, guess what's going to happen? We're going to be taking care of these babies, and we're going to need to have some assistance that we're going to be longing for. We're going to have 3 to 4 jobs to take care of these kids. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, our population is going to be going up, and they're going to have a problem with that. So if people don't see what a lot of this mess is going on, it starts here. So guess what? Soon you'll see some other rights get taken away. It starts there. And this all starts with, if people don't look at the bigger picture of what's going on, you want to roll back something that's 40 or 50 years old, and you look at who's coming in the country, who is becoming the dominant, I mean, really, in population, people of color. people of color, and I'm not just talking about Black people, I'm talking about Hispanic people. We're all people of color, you know what I mean? And we don't have no problem with raising all our kids and things like that. Nobody is stopping us from being at the abortion clinic. I'm sure, you know what I mean? It would be a different narrative. Hell, they might put something else on the law books. But we all know what this is all about. But that's just my thing. What you was gonna say, Chauncey?
Gonna say we wouldn't be able to have 25 kids. I promise you. After a certain number of kids,
Yeah, it's a law gonna be put into place.
if we were on the system and we were having all those, they would stop us. Now the men could make 25 babies, but we sure as hell would not be able to have 25
I don't
babies.
know about that, Chauncey. You know, I got a cousin that had 23.
I've known of too many cases where they have come to women of color. I'm talking in the 80s and in the 90s, and have said something to them when they got past baby number 6. And they want a conversation
Ooh,
with
saying something to you.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah. Can I get they identified, please?
they,
I'm like, what the
Who's,
hell?
like, who is they?
I never
I'm
go
like,
there.
who is they?
the woman who's
What?
a woman who's working her job, and she's got insurance through her job. She ain't having 7 kids. But that woman who is on that welfare system that is having all these kids, yeah, they start having a conversation about, oh, she on baby number 8, she on baby number 9, and she's
Social services, is that what you're referring to as they?
Yeah, I kind of see that though.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But we couldn't get to 25. But that brother that's out there, because he had 3 with this girl and 3 with that girl, but nobody's talking about giving him a vasectomy. Nobody's controlling that.
Nobody's even mentioning vasectomies because they act like that is something. I mean, I'm gonna give you another story. When I had my kids, me and my ex-husband wanted to have more kids after I had my son, Jose. And I had already got my tubes tied. So I was like, because my son was very challenging to me. I was just telling everybody, I love my baby, but my baby was very challenging as a newborn. And I was like, I ain't having no more kids. So we was, after the fact, we decided we wanted to have one. And I went back to get a reversal of my tubes, and it was just like a nightmare. But I just think about after that, the doctor told me, okay, well, you are able to have more kids. Well, unfortunately, me and him were going separate ways, right? And I just remember saying to him, you need to go get a vasectomy. I don't want to go back and go have my tubes tied anymore. It was just too painful. You know what I mean? It was like, I was in pain for a long time. And I heard that your procedure would be less invasive. You know what I mean? So, can you take that into consideration? Apparently he didn't, but I didn't have any other more kids for him. But I'm just saying it was an option. Like you said, it was an option. So these things are not being discussed at all.
Well, what happens is, again, like Ramel said, education is key. But Kimmy, when you talk about you having your tubes tied, that's another thing that would be effective with Roe versus Wade. When I decided that I was going to take the chance and have my baby, which I did, and look at her, she's almost 27. Look at her, look at God. She made it. She came early. I had to be on bed rest or whatever, but I made it through. I had the fallopian tube removed. I had the one that was no good removed. When I asked them to take the one that was good, I don't need it no more. I got 2. I'm straight.
Right.
They were like, no, we can't take the viable one because there's nothing wrong with it. I was like, well, can I donate it to somebody that need one? I mean, you
did
can
say donate.
A donation.
Yeah.
You can have it.
you could have the tube tied, but then they said I had to get permission from my husband. The laws on the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that don't make any sense.
Yes,
That's
that
what I'm
is a
saying.
thing. That
The
is a
laws
thing.
are based on
I was
the
under a
Dairyman
I
directive.
was under 30 and I only had the 2 and I was married. I would have had to get my husband's permission to sign off on me deciding. All of that is going out the window when this happens.
Yeah.
And much more than just the abortion debate. And like I said, there are so many things in place to help us prevent having to have an abortion. and just in the extreme circumstances that you're even possibly taking away those options away. And that's the part that doesn't make any sense.
Because
And
you
I'm,
know, if Roe v.
No
Wade goes
sense.
down,
No
you
sense.
know Planned Parenthood is going down too with it.
that's what I said
And
in the
that's
beginning.
huge.
So it's
That is
all-
huge.
And Planned Parenthood helps women who don't have money. It helps them get mammograms. It helps them
Yeah,
with
your breast. They ain't got nothing to do with the punani. It's your breast too. They need to everything. We need to look at everything. Like,
and
what's the
women
next
who are
thing?
dying from
Is it-
breast cancer and ovarian cancer. Some of these women have never even had children.
Yeah.
So this whole gamut of different scenarios that you can't even begin to cover.
Control the narrative. Control. That's all they're doing.
Is just get out of
But
our
they've wanted Planned Parenthood gone for
For
so
a
long.
long time.
So long, they've wanted it gone.
But they
Because
have- they
women
help with
have
the-
control over their situation with Planned Parenthood.
Well, they never thought that the day would come where Planned Parenthood was going to be
needed.
taken away from
Huge.
their population. I mean, at the end of the day, the government, I think the government's interest in this whole thing is population control.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's what it's
absolutely.
really coming down to, is population control. Because I mean, when you bring it up, Chauncey, it is ridiculous that, you know, there's so much red tape to getting, you know, to everything, all this part of it. Like, but when it comes to men getting a vasectomy, it's like, oh yeah, you're good. You in the clear. You in the clear. Like,
When I had the conversation with my ex-husband and I said to him, you had 2 when we got married. I have 1, and then we have 1 together. I'm not getting my tubes out. I'm not letting them cut on me anymore. You need to get the vasectomy. He went and he got it. And then that way, you know it ain't you, and I know it ain't me. So then that's how we need to roll going forward. But the other thing that really gets into my claw is that even down to the women who, you know, were trying to have abortions inside of, you know, backdoor clinics. And who were the women that were going down to Mexico all those years getting it? Sure wasn't the Black women. It
Well, I
sure
can
was.
tell you one thing. That's gonna be back.
Okay, but the thing is, it wasn't us to begin with. We were always, women of color were always too afraid to terminate their pregnancies, just from the procedure itself. And so it was never, like Kimmy said, it was never about us to begin with.
Nope.
We just happened to be caught in it. And so where are we gonna be? And like I said, if I'm married and that conversation comes up, then I would want to have that conversation with my husband. But it's not him telling me what to do. It's
That's
us
not
having this open conversation. And I think that men can help foster that more than anyone. I don't think that they should be shut out from the conversation, but I think they can help us see the betterment of just being able to have the ability. It's just like having alcohol available to us, right? You can drink it. It ain't against the law to drink it, but it's against the law to drink and drive. If the issue doesn't become you drinking, it becomes in excess of what you do. And so I think that there's a difference. I think if the debate was simply about late term pregnancies, I could see that argument, right? I could understand that after a certain point or whatever, but
I
just
can't see it at all. I just don't see it at all.
I'm
I
a
don't-
I think that-
now because you know what? I think that because we have to take our own personal stance out of it. Because at the end of the day, if somebody goes and they in their 3rd trimester and say, "Hey, yo, I'm not doing this. I don't want to have it. I'm, you know, I just don't want to have a baby."
What about the
I
13-year-old
don't
girl
want to
that
have a
decides?
baby. Yeah, 13-year-old having a baby. I don't want to have a baby. That should
I don't
be
want this. I
no
don't want this.
prerequisites to it. Like, I don't want to have one. There, and that's not me, because guess what? I love my children. I had 3 miscarriages. You know what I mean? You think that I don't think about those beautiful angels in heaven? You know what I mean? That's not me. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, it's somebody out there that say, hell, guess what? I made a mistake. Am I damned to life for a mistake? Because that's what we're saying right now. We're going to give you a checklist and see if you fall in the box.
no, but you're not damned to life. You're damned to jail. See, here's the thing. All of them that are making these decisions, like you said, they're not God. So the ultimate decision, it's not even about that. It's about these man laws that they want to keep creating that no one can halfway live up to, not even themselves.
They're not living up
Yeah,
to it. They ain't even
it's
trying to
wrong
live
But
on
up to
they're
so many
past the
levels.
age of worrying about
Yeah.
living up to it.
I
Please.
think
Okay, so
I think
before
women are
that,
gonna have
I
a
think we
very
need
hard
to hear a
time.
little bit more from the male persuasion, because me, Chauncey, and Ramel going at it. So
No,
And
it's no. I'm telling you. I mean, we're all saying the same thing, that men have zero to do with this, have no business ever making any kind of decision, or definitely not writing any laws. But man, it's a whole nother
So I'm
story
gonna
talking about
change the
this country
narrative
and the
for you.
laws.
I'm gonna change the
I
But
narrative
I think
for
women
you
are gonna
guys.
have. I
I'm
think
gonna
we
change
could
the
help
narrative.
it. I
Let me
think.
change the narrative for you
I'm sorry.
guys.
what I'm saying, as far as the decision making, we should be there in support.
Okay, but
I definitely agree. We
let
should be
me
there in
change the
support.
narrative for you. Let me change it. Jay and CG, okay? You met a beautiful woman in the club, you had sex with her, and she's pregnant, okay? And she tells you, I'm not going to have an abortion. You know what I mean? You don't know this person from nothing. You know what I mean? You just had a fling with them for one night. Now you are with this person and they say, hey, yo, I'm pregnant.
Okay, let me answer that, because CG's he's engaged,
You
right?
stupid Jay as hell.
What?
So we're not gonna have
No, I
CG
can't.
answer
I'm ready to answer.
scenarios
I'm
about
ready.
being in the club. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
I'm
kidding,
ready to
CG.
answer that.
But how beautiful is she? No, seriously, I
Okay.
see what you're saying. If you're total strangers, I understand. You don't know. You're not gonna have. You don't know the relationship. You don't know what's going on. I don't know anything about you. I don't know, any of those things. But I have to respect your decision and your choice. I have to. I have to respect that.
Tell
I
me you have to
cannot, and
like
in
it,
those
right?
circumstances, all right, exactly. And I may not necessarily agree with it really, but I have to respect that is your choice. That
Good
is your
point. Good
decision. That
point.
is your body. That is you carrying this child and
Good
giving
point.
birth to this child. So I have, I can't make any kind of, or force my opinion on you about what you should be doing, with your body and your choices. Now, again, she's beautiful. I might be like, look, I mean, we're gonna work this thing out. God
We
has
know
made
you
us,
so good.
hey, you
You got
pregnant in one shot like that, you don't know now. It might be a king we got coming out here, girl. But no,
Done.
I'm just saying it really
Done.
ultimately
Help
is going to
him.
be her choice, and I'm gonna support that, even though I don't really know.
Wouldn't be an
I mean,
issue if the pullout game wasn't so weak. We wouldn't even be here.
Oh,
Oh
Jesus.
well, wow. Wait a minute.
um,
Look,
Jesus.
JB like,
I
wait,
think
wait,
that's
wait,
a
wait,
layered.
wait.
I think that's a layered question because
Okay.
the whole thing about, okay, Chauncey, you talked about jail, and then Mel talked about, okay, this is a decision I want for the rest of my life. Imagine that, let's say this girl 10 years down the road says you got a kid. Now you stuck with $80,000 worth of back child support,
Yeah.
and you getting ready to go to jail because you ain't paying it. So I think that's where a lot of men aren't going to be incentivized to be like, you know what, let's go and be advocates for women on this, because on the flip side, it's like, and that's not really even about abortion, but just the overall spirit of, oh, this is a mistake. I don't want this. At what point do men get to make that ultimate choice? And you don't. So
It's
and I have
education,
friends,
CG. It's
and I have,
education.
but what I'm saying is, like, I mean, I have a friend right now who's $60,000 in back child support because a woman told him that, hey, this kid isn't yours. She put it on another guy, and then next thing you know, 8 years later, it's like, hey, you got a kid. He's
Oh,
getting ready to
wow.
go out the country to take his family out the country or whatever. His passport's revoked.
Oh,
His passport's revoked, and
Yeah.
he can't do
They'll
anything.
do
He
that.
can't make these moves that he wants to in life. So I think it's like, just in the spirit of, like, the overall intention behind it, it's like, it's not really like, I don't believe that we should be involved in the conversation of abortion. But if we're gonna really talk about, like, what's fair in this situation, then we got to include everything post, childbirth. And because that's where men's conversation is. Our conversation isn't about abortion. It's after that, when it's like, this is not working. This never was the woman that I wanted to be with.
yeah.
Even though that she wants this. So it's it's a man, it's just an ugly thing.
But but don't you think it should be more education on the front end? Like, I really honestly feel that when we get to a point where we start having these puberty conversations and whatever, we should be talking about this conversation with young men and young
Well,
women.
you know what
So-
else? I mean, you know what else is even messed up too? There's boys who are having sex with older women, like 13, like boys, like you remember that one case? I forgot what that. It was like a little boy who was sleeping with his
And
teacher.
the teacher.
He's
Yeah,
got these
he ended up
boys have to
marrying her.
pay
He
child
ended up marrying
support.
her.
Okay,
They
I'm
have to
talking
pay
about
child support.
those perverts.
You know, like there's those situations too. I don't know, man. I think the law.
I'm
this
not
family
talking
law,
about perverted education. I'm talking about.
but that's the legal framework of all of this that hurts all of us. And I just think family law in general just needs to change. Just all
I
the
think
whole
we need
thing
to talk
needs to be
more at
prevented.
home too. We need to, we think education is a school thing, and we don't, like, this is important to me. We don't think about how important education is at home because there are things you don't learn in school.
Well,
You
I
just
know I
don't.
had the conversation with my son and daughter coming
Yeah,
up
you
doing the rankings, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of grandparents being parents now because nobody is talking. You know what I mean?
Ain't
And
nobody talking to
yeah,
these kids. I
no.
got you.
I told my kids I'm a working mom, not a working grandma for your kids. So, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna love your grandkids, I'm gonna love them, but you need to take them where if you make them, you gotta be able to fund the child. You know what I mean?
And that, we also have to remember too, there are things we have to break the cycle. Like, my mother was a 14-year-old parent. I was a 16-year-old parent. And I was like, I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to be a grandparent at 30. Not gonna do it.
Mhm.
And we have to learn how to break the cycle. And sometimes it's very difficult. It's a very difficult conversation. It's very difficult parenting, but we got to learn how to do it. So abortion really comes down to, we don't need it if we can figure out a way to prevent it.
And I think it'll be always where it has to be a scenario, but they're wiping away. Keep in mind, y'all, some of these states are wiping away, like we talking about Alabama and a Mississippi. They're wiping away all reasons to have an abortion, rape, all kinds of things, incest.
Well, that's not
Wiping
good.
away all kinds of things. So these people are coming into this world, and because they're people, they're coming into this world in this unstable environment. So they may leave the world in another way. You know what I mean?
I think
I mean,
that's scary for me right now because I was going to fuck my cousin at 13.
that's some wild stuff. I mean, think about it. It's reality. That's what it is. Reality.
Wait.
So
Mel, no, hold up. Wait.
No.
Rewind.
He was so cute.
What
I
did you
we
just
don't
say,
get
Mel?
that.
Hold
I
on.
just said I was going to fuck my cousin at 13, but
What
I
state are
thank
you in?
God I didn't do it. I don't know if it was up to, I don't know if
Pennsylvania.
it was up to him or up to me, but
Are you in West Virginia? Are you in West
Wow.
Virginia?
You know what? That's why I never dated locally and around Charlotte. I always dated women that weren't around the area because I'm related to everyone.
Listen, because
That can happen though,
fine.
because you wouldn't even know what happened, and then you find out that's the third
And he
cousin.
was like a straight, like, he wasn't the first cousin, but he was like a second cousin. Oh yeah, he was
well, the law says it got to be
trying
after
to get fucked though.
Yeah, what does the law
Okay.
say? After the third?
third cousin. After third cousin once removed. That's it. That's the
Is
law.
that it? Okay, well, that's
Oh,
what we
God.
put down. Thank God. I think he stopped it. But
So he resisted you, you say?
thank you,
Pushed
Lil James.
he didn't allow you to approach him? What are you saying? He
he
stopped you.
just never would react, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna fuck him.
Oh,
It was
okay.
bad. It was bad. I was bad.
That was bad, Mel. That was bad.
I was like, I'm gonna fuck him. I'm going to fuck him.
Can
And then,
I just
and then in the end,
like,
he was just like, nope, we ain't doing it. I was like,
how old were you then when you
13.
were
I
gonna
think
do
I was
this?
12 or 13.
So you were
So
both
here's the thing, right?
I
in
was
the
birth,
bushes.
I
And
was
what-
both early and horny.
But I guess what I'm saying is, so then now you just said the education begins at home.
It does.
My
It
mother
really does.
started having, because I was always tall for my age, my mother started having certain talks with me by the time I was 9. And so, you know, if you start to develop early or, you
Nobody
know,
told me not to fuck my cousin. Nobody told me that.
you gotta say that now, but yeah, that's, but my point is, but the education still comes in with being able to, that's, you know, I think one of the questions, Kimmy, you had up on the page or something was about, you know, is there a problem with teaching kids to masturbate and things that
No,
how to pleasure yourself so that you don't have to go elsewhere to do it. But my point is that if we talk to them early enough and talk about the ramifications, but 9-year-olds are a lot smarter today than they were when we were growing up, because
I think it has to really start early.
Probably
Because
at
think
4.
about how horny you are at
Just say
7.
this. Let me just say this. You
I
ain't got
caught
to
my
tell
son
no
fucking the couch
child.
at 7.
You ain't got to tell no child that, especially not no little boy, that he can play with himself. You just don't need to tell him he can't. You just need to. You don't need to
That's
try to tell
good. That's
him to
right, Jay.
stop. You just
That's
need to
right.
try to tell him that something's wrong with that. You see, that's the
Right.
problem.
that's
You know,
very
because we're gonna naturally try to. Oh, once we figure that, mess around, hit that jump one day. Whoa, oh, whoa. Okay, wait a minute.
remember when
Wait a minute.
Man,
Okay.
I just be mad
All
at the
right.
water bill. He's like, why is
I'm
the damn
saying.
water bill so
So,
high?
but
remember
I'm, you know,
Hours
when
jerking
Jocelyn
off
Elders
forever.
was the
right.
Surgeon General, and she suggested this back then, early
Yeah.
90s. Surgeon
You,
General, the
you,
Black woman, Jocelyn Elders. And she was saying that if you teach them that, you'll have less STD rates, you'll have less teen pregnancy,
right.
we have a lot of things, but we have to open our minds in that aspect. And but we're trying to live, we still have this one foot in this Puritan society and this one foot in this progressive society, and we can't decide where it is we want to be, and not separating church from state and understanding the difference. And we just all screwed up.
I told my son at an early age, you better use it or you gonna lose it. Boy, I'm telling you that. You better use it. You gonna
Well, I think
lose it.
it was some
That's
really
just the
good,
reality.
candid conversation. I don't think we offended anybody, and if we did, I always say
I'm
apologize.
sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But this is real talk, though, because I think everything discussed on the porch tonight was real talks, facts. We didn't take the facts and turn it to alternative facts. It is what it is. So, in closing, what is everybody's final thought on the upcoming decision of Roe v. Wade? Chauncey?
My final thoughts are that I hope we just, whatever happens, that we just don't go backwards and we start losing women's lives. That, to me, that's what's going to happen. And no matter what, whether you're trying to control the population, whether you're trying to increase the white population, whatever it is you're trying to do, you can't do it if we don't have no women. So
Absolutely.
if we're not here, there goes. You can't even work in a petri dish. That's all I'm saying.
I know that's right. CG?
And all I can say, I'll say this to the men, really think about what really I guess the consequences of being against abortion and what that's going to do to your future family if you are, putting that woman in that corner. Whatever the outcome of all this is, I'll just say that anybody out there who's having sex, like be very selective about it. And be very intentional with the people that you're involving yourself with. Hookup culture is great, it's fun and all that stuff, but once that kid comes into the world, there's some hard decisions that have to be made, and you know what, if that person doesn't want it, it could be very troublesome for you in the future. So good luck to everyone. I'll say that much.
Mel?
I honestly feel like we're in a serious state of turmoil right now because women's rights are at risk. Once you close this off, there's no stopping the next thing to stop. You know what I mean? Like, well, how many babies you can have, how many kids you can't have. It's a real ridiculous situation right now. Nobody should make a choice for a woman. It should be a discussion between a man and a woman who are consensual adults. They should have this conversation. And I think education is key. And if we don't start
I agree.
educating ourselves, we really gonna be in trouble. We're in trouble.
I agree. Jay?
I agree with everybody, and that United States government, nobody should have anything to do with a woman's rights. And we need to be moving forward. And so my stance and my opinion is that women should have total control over the decisions of what they want to do with their bodies and their pregnancies. And James Brown wrote a song about that. He said, "It's a man's world, but it
Yes,
will
it
be
is.
nothing
Nothing.
without a woman or a girl." So we you just should just have nothing to do with that. Support women in their choices. That's my
I
final
agree.
thoughts.
I love that, JB. I love that.
That was cool. That was cool. So again, thank you, Chauncey,
You're
Steve,
welcome.
JB, Mel. Great conversation. Um, this concludes this episode. I think we did a really good job, and I can't wait to the feedback comes back off of this episode. So join us again next Wednesday as we do a new episode. It drops. You can always catch us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So have a good night on purpose. I'm your girl, Kimmy, and joining me tonight is
Ramel, support women's rights.
Chauncey?
DG.
JB from NC. Oh, my bad. CG.
You're good.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right.
All right, so I thought that was a really good episode. The after show. Thank you, everybody. So, is there anything that we did not cover?
I feel like one of the most important things that not that we didn't cover, but one of the most important things is that women's rights are being challenged every single day. And if you don't challenge back, like if there's a situation and you don't push back, we've got a problem. We've got a problem. It seems like they just keep pushing until you don't have nothing. I don't know. That's just me.
I think that what we didn't talk about is how we got here.
Yeah, we got here because we don't push back.
I think I say how we got here, Mel. I think that we didn't talk about the courts being favorably loaded to turn Roe v. Wade back. You see what I'm saying?
True.
That's how we got here. You see what I'm saying? Because the court is not balanced right now. And anybody can disagree with me, but it's not balanced. And the Supreme Court should be balanced. You see what I'm saying? So now we're taking it back to the states. Okay. So if anybody has seen the maps show where people will need to go and seek refuge because we're in the midst of turning back Roe v. Wade under the state laws. You see what I'm saying? So I think because we haven't talked about how we got here, how can we fight if we get Roe v. Wade turned back? Where do we go? What is the next step? That's what I'm trying to say. We should probably talk more about next step because I think it's more of a reality. You know what I mean? We can all say, okay, well, yes, it's we need to do this, we need to do that, but we don't have anything concrete around it. But I think it's more of a reality, and I think we didn't really talk about what's the next step if Roe v. Wade is turned backwards. What about the guys? What did you think? Did we miss anything?
I mean, I was gonna say when you were like, "How did we get here?" I was gonna point fingers at somebody, but we can that.
Who was you gonna point at?
White women.
Oh shit, that's right.
I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
I'm sorry, and I have a lot of white friends. I'm telling you, but
Don't point at the white women.
They straddle the fence a lot of times. They straddle this
because at the end of the day, white women have this privilege in society where they want to be minorities in their own right, but they don't want to. But they want to maintain their proximity to a white man's power. So they're not gonna divest so fucking far.
Mm-hmm. That's
and that sounds so true, CG. That sounds so true.
The ones who benefited
Those are facts.
Exactly
from the civil rights movement.
Exactly.
Civil rights movement was, so many people look at it about the minorities, but the ones who benefited the most were the white women.
I mean, look at women's rights from the
When they
beginning.
were burning bras and things of that nature, they weren't really fighting for us, but all of the civil rights that came gave them the power that they have. And they didn't support us in the way that they needed to support us in.
So second in charge.
Huh?
Second in charge is what you're saying.
It's always been like that from the the women's rights movement when they were working alongside the abolitionists. Sojourner Truth, ain't I a woman? Like it's always been like this.
Look at affirmative action. No one ever talked about
Affirmative action, they're the main benefactors.
Yeah.
And then when they get their piece of the pie,
they are the main benefactors from the entire civil rights movement.
And nobody talks nothing about it. And that's what I'm saying. So how we got here is how we got here. I don't know how we're going to go to the next phase. I'm gonna be honest with you because I think it's going to be a lot of problems, a lot.
I'm just trying to figure out, when you say how we got here, I'm trying to figure out how we're 50 years in the future, but we're 80 years behind. And so I'm like, so where were these people? Where did they come from?
Well, I'm gonna say a perfect example, and I hope y'all can relate. Think about the day after Donald Trump got elected, 2 days, and they had the pussy rally down in DC, okay? Had pussy hats on and all kind of stuff. When they went to go do a statistic of who was out there, okay? 80% of them didn't even vote. That's a problem. Don't go put a pussy hat on your head and you ain't even vote. That's a bunch of propaganda being played. You know what I mean? That's serious stuff right there. That's serious stuff. You can't go out there and march and you didn't even go to the ballot box. Are you just putting on a front and an ear for everybody to see you, but you did nothing?
Sides of the same coin. I always said that. Especially those women who were supporters of Bernie Sanders, they called themselves being so angry and so mad that they decided that they weren't going to vote as opposed to having to vote for Hillary Clinton. Yeah, so I don't understand the feminism in that, but again, I didn't feel the same, so therefore I couldn't understand it. And that is a lot of the reason that we are here where we are.
Yeah, and to your point, Chauncey, how are we gonna be 50 years out, but really 80 years behind? You know what I mean? Because that's what's going to happen if we don't have some kind of resolve to this, because we're going backwards. And if anybody saw The Handmaid's Tales, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Well, they'll eliminate me because I can't handle kids, because it's all about having some babies for
dust. You and me, dust.
Yeah, we're gonna be dust. I'm gonna be dust. You know what I mean? They're gonna get rid of me. I'm just not a vital person. I'm be running to get my ass to Canada. But if you think about it, I always think about these movies. I don't know if y'all do that. When somebody create these movies, I'm like, it's some kind of sinister mind that really know probably a little bit more, and this stuff can come to fruition. Because The Handmaid's Tale, I mean, I'm still waiting for season 5, y'all, but it really
can I ask a question?
If you think about 1984, George Orwell, if you think about Fahrenheit 451, this was all coming. It was just all coming. Been paying attention, and then we're going to somehow revert all the way backwards, and people are going to try to wipe out history. They're going to try to make us forget.
Well, they're doing that now. They want to do that now. What'd you say, Jay?
No, I was going back to that point you were making about after Trump became president. I think, like so many of us, I'm speaking in the I term, really was just in shock and disappointment. Like, damn, this dude actually became freaking president. What the fuck? But he made something about the pussy parade. I mean, was that actually women's vaginas?
They had pink pussy hats on their heads.
I missed that. I did not.
Millions of them out there, Jay. Millions.
Why was that not advertised? I wanted to see that.
Oh, that was advertised because a couple of my friends went down there.
I missed that. I'm telling you, I missed it. I did not.
When we get off of this, please,
she would have gone down there just to.
But she just made the point. Half of the people that were out there didn't
even vote.
You are part of the reason. You can't stand up here and say, I can't believe this didn't happen. You're part of
the problem.
So was it like a women's rights type of rally? Is that what, that's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to
it
get an
was, and
understanding of what it
they had
was. Okay.
pussy hats on their heads. It was really cute hat. I really wanted one, but I couldn't make it to the parade because they were really cute hats. But
So
you know,
pussy
after
hats.
I look at
Now,
the fluff of it, you
is
like,
that, are you
yo,
saying what is a pussy hat? Can somebody Google? I like to see what
Jay,
was a,
Jay.
And then
I'm
you'll
just
let us
saying, you've made reference to it several
God.
times now, and I'm trying to, I'm a visual
But that's
guy.
what they
You
were
know
called.
that.
That's what they were
I'm
called.
just
Jay is
wondering.
retarded.
What in the
Let
world?
me see. Let me
didn't even
Google
want one.
pussy
You can
hat.
Google it and
Pussy
Google it. It's
hat.
a pretty like pink, you know, like a fuchsia
It
pink
looked like
hat,
lips, look like pink lips.
pink lips. They had them on their head. Somebody crocheted some of them with little hats on their head.
Really?
Yeah, they was kind of
Jay, when you look it
Mail,
up,
you're gonna
send me
get
a
you one mail. You get you one mail.
text me when you find it.
oh my god. So is there
Yeah,
anything else that you think we could have
they
covered?
were wearing shit
Yeah.
like this out there.
Yeah, did
Wow. Wow.
That's the list.
yeah. It was millions of people out
So
there.
it was probably a lot of
You
pantyless
should
women
know
out
CG
there.
was gonna look it up.
A lot of pantyless women out there that day. I'm
Oh, I
sure
felt
they
like I
were
just
free
started a lot of
flowing.
shit just now.
They were free flowing out there. I know they were free flowing out there.
Listen,
Damn
you
it. How
know
did
it
I
was
miss
after the
that?
fact.
I would
You
have
know
just popped up, just so happened to popped up with some baby oil. And
What,
I'm
Jay?
here in
What?
support. I'm here.
I'm done.
I'm supporting the pussy
Baby
hats.
oil.
I
What?
am supporting the pussy hats.
What?
Yes, women.
Just fix it. Just fix it.
Oh God. Baby
I'm gonna
oil.
walk around with my shirt off in some baby oil. Y'all don't pay me no attention. Come on, I'm
When
just
my
having
brother
fun.
get to this
I'm just
episode,
having
he's
fun.
gonna be like, Kimmy.
We better be
I'm
able
just
Oh,
to
you
having
want
pass,
to
fun.
publish this?
Jay, we better be able to pass the FCC test because you
Oh
shit.
God.
Hey,
No,
Jose might have
I
to.
would like to
He
do
might have
some
to.
serious editing.
Even
Jose
got
might have to
Right,
CZ
edit some of
on
right,
that
here
out.
right,
acting
right.
out. He acting out, so you know it's crazy.
All right, so is
I'm
there
just
anything else
in
that you
support.
think we should have covered? I enjoyed this episode. I think we made it so lighthearted. You know what I mean? And even though this is a very serious subject, I think we made it so lighthearted that nobody didn't start cursing each other out. I was just really praying for that somebody didn't come on here. One of us was like sitting here talking and it was going to turn into a battle. But all is well. So I think this was a great episode. So any closing thoughts?
I think it's just a matter of just everybody being really in tune to what they feel. I think that's something that we've lost a lot of because we're letting everybody else make decisions for us. So let's just be in tune with ourselves.
Good. Great
and
thought.
just be safe and be honest.
Be honest.
Be honest because if you feel like abortion rates are high, they could be lower.
Yep.
If just let people make the choices for themselves.
Yep.
Out of our bedrooms, please. Get out.
Stay out. Stay out. Get out my damn room.
CG, any final thoughts? CG, what are you
I don't know
doing?
what to say, man. This is a tough ass conversation. Like, I don't know.
It really is.
I don't know.
He said, I don't know. Well, you brought a lot to this conversation, CG, and thank you. Jay.
I'm still staying. Hey, women have the right to do what they choose and what they please, and that's what I advocate. That's what I support. 100%.
Thank you.
That's pretty straightforward. With that there. But is there we say vasectomy men support group? I'm thinking about it, but I just want to make sure I ain't losing no gas out the tank. So I just want to make sure if anybody can help me with that, I want to find out
You
about
ain't
that
about to lose no
vasectomy
gas.
support
You
group.
all right.
No
Don't
gas.
worry about it. Go on and get it
To
done.
make sure.
Actually, I do
I'm
have
about to
something.
hit. I'm knocking on 60 door. I can't have that. Phone call. Talk about you to what?
You
No.
know, I'm a nurse, so I'm gonna let you know. You ain't about to lose no gas. You're gonna be good. You're gonna be more excited, actually.
You won't lose no gas, but you
Okay,
might
Chauncey.
be making some babies if you don't be careful.
Oh
Right.
my
But
God.
I look, Chauncey's endorsing it. I like that.
And there's
Chauncey.
no
There you go.
abortion, so be careful.
And
Right. Yeah,
you
and
be
that's
80 you be 78 at the graduation. So
In a wheelchair.
Yeah. Jack.
Nah, I ain't gonna be in a wheelchair.
At 78? I mean, well, that's
No,
just the that's
hell
the
no.
visual. That's the visual to help you be
Help
careful.
you. That's birth control right there. You at the graduation in the
I'm gonna
wheelchair
still be
and so
dribbling the
getting assistance
basketball.
and then
78.
and getting the lift onto the platform so they can just have you sit by yourself. You can't sit beside your family members. So
They're like, who's granddaddy?
On that Harley Davidson.
I'm joking.
This your granddaddy.
It was a good episode. I was so excited for this episode.
this was really good. All right. So again, everybody have a wonderful night and thank you for joining us on the porch. I'm your girl Kimmy, and joining me tonight is
Renee!
Shanti.
GG.
JB from NC.
have a good night and have an awesome week on purpose.